Hello friends, welcome again. Another video, another interesting topic. Today in this video we will be looking into calculation groups. I love calculation groups. I'm working with this calculation groups since this has been introduced. There's a lot of stuff you can do with calculation groups and I love it. And recently I was working on a project where I was using calculation groups and then there was one use case where I had two ways to do things and I was not sure what is the best way to approach it. And I came up with what I found is the best way to do it. So in this video, we will look into what I'm talking about, what is in calculation groups we should take care of, and go through the process of maybe creating one calculation group and look into the actual issue I'm talking about. Let's get into this. All right, so here is our Power BI report. Very simple data model. We have a sales table and then we have products, calendar, and other dimensions. We're not interested in all that stuff, so but we're going to talk about calculation groups here. So I have a one measure which is a sum of sales, and then let's create another measure which is a quantity, which is sum of quantity, and that's the full number. Perfect. So let's see it by month. So I have a month column here, and then we have a sales, and then we have a quantity. Oh, sorry, we have a quantity and then sales. So we have a two measures used in this visual. Let's increase the size a bit, 16 maybe. All right, that looks good. And so it's pretty straightforward, nothing at this point of time. Now let's add a slicer for the year. Let's make it list so it's easy to select. So we have a slicer here, and of course if we have a data for 2017-18, so 2018, 2019 and 2020. Okay, good. Now what we want to do here is we want to create a measure for showing the title, whatever the year has been selected, and show it in the title, right? So simple. So title measure. So I'm gonna add one, if has one value, calendar year, then show that year, selected year, format, any aggregation tool we can use, calendar year, and then we use journal number, and otherwise we say all years. There could be more than 2 years selected, but assuming this is, we are always selecting 1 year. My intention is not to talk about this particular DAX and whatnot, but more about calculation groups. We can have a single select so that we don't run into that issue. So let's set this as in a title for this grid. Title on FX, field value, and then our measure, let's call it title. Right, so that's it. So you should show up in here. So select the year 2020, maybe put it in the center, make it bold, all that fun stuff, and size to 18. Maybe we should make it white, oh sorry, black over white, just to differentiate. All right, perfect. So as we select a year, it shows up in the title. So all good so far. So now what we want to do here is we want to create a calculation group, and the reason we want to create a calculation group, give the user the ability to see if they want to see the sales in the metrics visual, or they want to see the quantity, just in a simple example. So what we need to do is go in a tabular editor, because calculation groups you cannot create within Power BI desktop, and so let's say called create new calculation group, call it analyze what, that's the name of the calculation group, and then there's a calculation, that's the name of the calculation group, and this is, then we have analyze what, and then we can add two calculation items. We can call it a dollar sales and quantity. So two items. So when the a user selects dollar sales, we want to return a sales measure which has already been created, and if user select this one, so we want to return the quantity. All right, and then I'm not going to go deep into other details, formatting and all the stuff, but I just want to focus on the one of the use case I want to show here. So let's refresh now, since calculation group has been added to the model. Okay, so it should be here, analyze what, right? So we can use this analyze what as in a slicer here, and so we can use it like what we want to see, sales. So this now change to the sales or quantity. So what we can do here is now we can have only one measure in the matrix. So if user select quantity, it's going to show us this quantity, or if we select the sales, it will show us the sales. So the reason why in the quantity we are seeing the dollar sign, because the measure we used in the matrix is it's using that format. We can also change the format in calculation groups. Let's quickly do that, because quantity with dollar sign doesn't look okay. So we go in a calculation item again and go to format string expression. Let's say we do it, give a format expression, that's a quantity. When we are in the sales and we want to show dollar hash, maybe something like this. Okay, let's check now quickly. Yeah, so now quantity, there's no dollar sign. When we go into sales, we can have the dollar sign, and the title we can change here is selected measure or something, so it's sales. So okay, quantity and sales. We can also do one more thing here quickly. We can have a matrix visual and put analyze what on the columns. So if we clear here, we can have both the columns, sales and quantity. If we pick one, we only see that one, or if we don't select anything, we won't see. So this is all good, perfectly working fine. Check what's happening when we are clicking on the dollar sales. The title is changing. It is not the title of the year we selected. If we have a dollar sales, it's giving us the total of the dollar sales, and if it's a quantity, it's giving us 3397. Now that's the problem, right? Because basically what is happening is when you are selecting a measure from the analyze what, we told our calculation items. When sales is selected, return the sales amount, and when quantity is selected, return the quantity amount, quantity as in a measure. So to overcome this, what we're going to do is we're going to look into if the selected measure or the current measure or the measure what we're looking at is not sales or quantity, or other way around is a title, then return the measure itself, otherwise sales or quantity. So let's see how we're going to do that. So go back to to tabular editor. So here we are, when the sales, we are returning the sales measure. So what we can do here is there is a function called if not selected measure name is equal to title. So if the name of the measure is not title, then return sales, otherwise return the title measure itself. Right? So that should fix the underlying problem. Something wrong, so sorry, missing a comma here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so now if $sales is selected, so we have a sales, but our title is showing perfectly correct, and it's showing the year we have selected 2019 in case and whatnot. So I already made this change for the quantity as well. So now the problem has been solved. So selected year 2020 and the quantity is selected. So everything is working. But here is the here is the reason why I'm doing this video is, let's say if we change the name of this measure, instead of calling it title, we call it title for year, or whatever we want to call it, or maybe title year. So if I now choose $sales, we are back to this same problem, right? So we are now getting a title as the number, not like what we expected. So do with quantity, because we have hard coded here is like, okay, if node selected measure name is equal to title, so we are expecting the measure name is title. So in case we change the name of the measure, so whatever the solution we put to solve that is not going to work. So that's a pitfall when you're working with the calculation groups. You really need to be very careful when doing these things. So what we can do with this is we have another function called is selected measure. Let's see how that is different than what we have just used, like selected measure name. Like how is selected measure is different than that. So let's use that. So I'm gonna, if is selected measure name, no, actually selected measure, and then you're actually giving the measure, it's called title year as we renamed it, then sales, or if we use note, then it will be, so actually let's use note. If note is selected measure, if the measure is not title year, then return sales, otherwise return the actual measure, so which is title year. Okay, let's apply this change and see what happens. So again, we made this change on the sales. So if we go to the sales, so it's working. So is selected measure is selected year 20, now it's showing us the correct year. So if 2019, it will show the correct. So let's change the name of this measure back to, instead of title year, to title. So if we do this, it still works, because what you will see underneath the actual measure, now the name is being changed, right? Instead of being comparing string, before, like selected measure name is equal to title year, we are saying is selected measure is title. So whatever the name, if we make the change to the name of the measure, it will automatically propagate to where it has been used. So this is working perfectly fine. So we will do the same change in our quantity here as well. Is selected measure title, then quantity, otherwise title. So now we have it. Now that's exactly what we are looking for. So now, and doesn't matter sales or quantity, we see the title with the year in it. And if we change the name of the measure, which is title whatever, it would still work. So having said that, as we saw, we have two options to compare the name of the measure: is selected measure or the selected measure name. So is selected measure is a safe way to use it, because if we change the name of the measure, it would propagate and will automatically work. But if we use a selected measure name, we have to make sure that wherever we are comparing, we are comparing strings, so we make, or text, we make sure we also change the name. So is selected measure, in my opinion, is a safer way to go if you run into similar situation. But using between selected measure name and is selected measure, why use one over another? I will always use a selected measure until I come across in a situation where I can use it. Like I want to compare the partial name of the measure, like if selected measure name, searching some text is equal to, or some part of it, and want to compare the text DAX functions, that's where I will use selected measure name. Otherwise, if I really want to be so-called a tightly confront to the name of the measure, I will use the is selected measure and then use that for my comparison. I think that's pretty much it. So basically from this video I wanted to bring like how the selected measure name and the is selected measure can do the same job, but how one is different than other, and can really help to make a more robust solution than being a something which can break. It's not like name of the measures we always change, but it can happen, right? So be careful when you use that, and then plan accordingly. Anyhow, we will be having a lot more videos on calculation groups. There's just a lot more to talk about it, and this is something I really using quite a bit now these days. And whatever I come across, I will share my experience in next videos, and go from there. Have a good day. Talk soon. Thank you.